Happy Sunday to all of you out there in the world of YouTube. Welcome to Simon's Trading Channel. My name's Simon and I do a daily Bitcoin price action analysis. At the moment, there's no price action to analyze. So I'm going to do a cheeky macro Sunday. People love a macro Sunday. It's like you do things on Sunday that you wouldn't normally do any other day of the week. Like make a YouTube video sat in your pants. Like you wouldn't do that any other day of the week. I don't know who does that. Anyway, before we get into it, I'm not a financial advisor and none of this is financial advice. Hopefully, I'll provide you with some entertainment and maybe some food for thought. So, macro times, because there's nothing happening on the lower time frames. Anyway, so where are we? Yes, what I was thinking was Sunday, there's not much happening on low time frame, so let's do a macro video. I know I just said that, but my trail of thought disappeared off into some sort of abyss from which it will never be retrieved. Now, what I was going to say was if you're looking at things on a larger scale or macro, as all the cool kids say, then you probably should use a weekly or a monthly. Well, I've got a weekly handily on the screen at the moment, so let's just do that. And, you know, some of the cool guys have put a Fibonacci retracement on here, and then they'll look at what's happened since then. And that's fantastic. That's lovely. And I congratulate all those people wholeheartedly. However, I just like to look at the price action. And you can see a few areas of interest um, which have already occurred, and maybe there'll be a few areas of interest that are yet to occur. Clearly, those are the ones that are of interest to humans living in the present time rather than the past. And so, why don't I just stick a few lines of randomness on? And you'll probably see why they're not entirely random, but I hope are a bit logical once I've drawn them on. So you can see this line pretty much bisects that down move, but also it corresponds to an area of support and resistance um, on this weekly time frame. It doesn't take in the wicks, but that's why it won't take it. It'll take in some of the wicks, but not all of the wicks. But effectively, a wick on a weekly, a wick on a weekly, wick on a weekly, wick on a weekly, corresponds to lots of juicy intra-weekly price action, so lower time frame price action, and um, and so doesn't necessarily apply to when you look at a macro time frame. So there you go. So somewhere around 31.5 seemed to be a very interesting area on a weekly time frame, i.e. macro scale. And it does appear that it provided support and then resistance. So the old SNR levels, gotta love them. If you wanted, or well, not if you want to, what I'm going to now do is put another one on here. Let's see how many lines I can get on the screen just to annoy myself. It looks like there's another one there, right? But this one's more of an R and S line, resistance and support. And what about up here, a bit further up here? Let's have a little look. What does the price action tell me? What can I see? What can I interpret in the crazy language of candles and random lines? There's one there that sort of bisects the price action. I don't know if that's particularly helpful. Maybe if we bring it down to here. Yeah, I think that seems pretty legit. So again, and I'm doing these, I haven't really rehearsed this, by the way. I'm just doing this live. Well, it's not live because it's recorded, but it's recorded live. That's an expression that really confuses me. It feels like an oxymoron. I've been accused of being an oxymoron on many times. I can tell you. Yeah, so this looks like a support resistance line to me. It doesn't look like as obvious one though, and therefore maybe it's not as strong one as maybe these two. What about above? What about above? We may as well get 4 on, you know? I mean, we got our current wick high. Yeah, you could have one there, but I think an obvious one is here, around about the 52 mark. There we go. There are 4, in my humble opinion, obvious S&R lines. Now, how are they useful? Well, they have varying degrees of usefulness. Obviously, they're useful to make a retrospective Bitcoin price action analysis on a macro Sunday. That makes them useful. But are they useful for the future? I think so. I mean, if you look at basically what's been going on in the last coming up for 9 weeks of Bitcoin price action, it's been going sideways, right? Now, the what would the reason why these lines might be useful is that, let's say it did close below on a weekly now, on a weekly, let's say it did close below 38,000. Well, apart from maybe a pause at, say, 35 or some like intermediate support at 35, the obvious support would be around that 31 set, around this blue line. It's not exactly a line, right? But around that kind of blue line area. That would look like an amazing macro lower higher low. So easy to mix up lower highs and higher lows. That would make an excellent higher low. And so that's why they're useful, right? Because they almost compartmentalize some of the price action, sometimes into a range, but more often into areas that may potentially be targets for the price to be attracted to. And so, yeah, if it did break, if you did get a weekly closure below sort of, well, probably below this kind of mini range, but I would say a weekly closure below this wick would look very much like more downside. Um, and I think a closure really above these closures, which are currently around 44,000, that being the midpoint clearly between these two support resistance levels. And, maybe a move up to that 52-ish thousand level. So they are useful support resistance lines. In my opinion, you should put them on the higher time frames because the higher time frames price action has more weight to it. So I'm going to draw a halt to that. Just keep that simple because it's 8 minutes already. Very quick. I don't want to take more than 10 minutes of your extremely important lives from you. On the lower time frames, quick luck, and I mean quick. So far, there's a sequence of lower highs. So it's on the hourly. It looks like it's flagging out basically, but yeah, there's probably horizontal support around this kind of area, but it does like it's wedging in a bit. So, low volatility beholds higher volatility. So maybe there's a move coming either up or down. So far, lower highs on the hourly suggests some downward pressure. And I would say closures below this previous wick at around 42,550 on an hourly would likely behest maybe a move back down towards 42,000, and then we'll come back to it. Conversely, closure above 43.4, more or less, likely to see a move up. Although that's getting into a more macro area of resistance. So maybe just a retest of the 43.8 area, uh, more likely. Yeah, okay. So there you go. That's 10 minutes. Take it easy, everyone. Have a nice Sunday, and I'll catch you tomorrow.